Sup? Welcome to the Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. This is episode number 11, and I am Adam Choit. For now, to follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram, and I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram as well if you want to follow me. And just a disclaimer, I have no affiliation with the band. This is not an official podcast or anything. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying this podcast so far. If so, I would greatly appreciate it if you would take the time to write out a short positive review on iTunes. This is definitely helpful for sure. And again, I'm going to do my best to put out episodes weekly. Haven't really picked out a specific day yet, so just be sure to follow the podcast on social media and subscribe. Today's guest is Superfan of Tedeschi Trucks band, Diane Curry. Growing up in the Richmond, Virginia area, music has always been a big part of her life. A lot of her musical influences have come from her siblings, and Diane used to play alto saxophone in school as well. She's been a Susan Tedeschi fan since the late 90s and a TTB fan since the beginning, having seen them over 50 times now. We cover a lot today, so let's just get into it. Here's Diane Curry. So it's good to see you today, Diane Curry. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, on the Zoom and on your birthday.
Yes, my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Where would you rather be besides talking to me, a complete stranger, basically, on a podcast?
Oh, right now? Well, the show would be nice, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I see the TTB, the Tedeschi Trucks band poster behind you over your left shoulder there.
That's one of many.
Did you put that there for my view, or is that there? It was always there.
Actually, it fell off the wall, so I
fell off the wall. It was on that wall. The wall that's right there. The wall.
It was, yeah. I need to put it back.
No, this is a beautiful setting you've created. Maybe I should get like a screen grab.
No, this is my office.
But you're hanging in there. You're doing okay during this crazy time.
I'm doing good. I work out of the house, so it's been pretty easy for me.
Yeah,
because it's business as usual.
Yeah, what a time to be alive, though.
Yeah, it's kind of hard on the kids.
Yeah,
I have 3 kids, and their whole life's been kind of turned upside down a little bit.
Yeah,
no sports and friends.
Yeah,
and all that,
it's weird. It's a really weird, strange, odd time for many, many reasons. But I hope things get better and maybe get back to normal. And why don't we get into your life? And you were telling me before we started recording that you grew up like near the Richmond, Virginia area, and
I did.
Tell me about that and music and sing. What were you listening to and from early childhood, and just get into it.
Yeah. So, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and we've always liked music in my family. And some of my earliest memories about music was my mom. She used to play some. She liked kind of country music, and we used to watch some shows on TV with Roy Clark and stuff like that. And she used to tell me stories about her childhood when she would go see Lester Flats and Earl Scruggs and stuff like that. And that was always kind of interesting, you know. And my older sister and I had 2 older sisters and a brother. And they each had their own musical taste. So my oldest sister, she really liked Hart and Fleetwood Mac. And then my other sister was big into the Dead. And so they were really big influences on me and my brother, of course. And we used to play a lot of music. We had a stereo, and we all kind of used to hang out in the family room and listen to music. We used to play a lot of Dead, Europe 72, and my brother used to play a lot of Neil Young and Hendrix and Joplin and Pink Floyd, and I had all those early influences, so to speak, and just really resonated with the Dead. My sister and I used to share a room, and I had all the albums, the Dead albums that she had. So we kind of shared all that. And I used to just memorize all the covers of all the albums and just play the albums over and over again. And, it's just, there's nothing like the Dead for me. That's how I got into it. And I used to come home from school, and that was the first thing I would do was turn on the music, Allman Brothers and the Dead.
And at what age?
Oh, well, this was when I was probably
Always?
about 12 or 13. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I used to listen a lot to my brother's music because he was into his music was at a different level than ours, and the fact that he was into audiophile equipment. So he would have like Klipsch Apogee speakers and ribbon speakers with a big, Macintosh amp and stuff like that. So when he played music, the whole house heard it. And we kind of we had fun with that. So just lots of Zeppelin and just good music,
Yeah. Like very eclectic music, but like all good stuff coming from different kind of genres from all your brothers and sisters and your mom with the country.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a different mix when you think about it. And then I would go over to my friend's house, and they'd be playing stuff like, Duran Duran, which was kind of foreign to me because that was not what I was listening to. But, just different.
What about playing instruments or singing or performing or anything like that? Was that something that you or your family was into at all?
I took piano lessons, and then I played saxophone. I played alto sax, and for years I played in the band. I was in the marching band and the concert band, stuff like that at school. And so I like the saxophone.
But you never played it in like outside school jazz band or in like a pop band or rock band or anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
Band.
I took it. I took it to college, but I didn't really find the outlet for me, and so I didn't carry it on. But I had fun with it, and I appreciated the art of making music. That's for sure. And I always wanted to play a soprano saxophone, and I never had one. I was always kind of enthralled with it. And I remember seeing Dave Matthews long before he was ever famous. He used to play down in Norfolk, Virginia, where I went to college. I went to Old Dominion University, and he used to play at a little restaurant there that would serve, the Sunday special at 5:00, and then they'd pull up tables and have a band in the evening. And Lewis's was what it was called, and I used to go see him there, and met him there a couple of times, and his horn player played a soprano sax. And I talked to him, and I said, I've always loved the soprano saxophone. And he's like, well, we'll play it. Here you go. And I was like, what? You want me to try it? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So he let me play it, and I tried it out, and it was kind of cool.
And then that was... You play with the band? Like you?
Yeah. Well, I didn't play a song with the band. We did it during set break. You know what I mean?
I see.
And And then that was one of the last times I saw Dave Matthews before he kind of skyrocketed out of out of the ballpark after that. He was, that was during his very early days.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a little memory,
Do you
But
still? I was gonna ask if you still have a saxophone. Do you have one right now in your
yeah.
house?
Yeah, I got it.
You do?
I got it. And I tried to talk my kids
Not a
into
soprano.
picking it up. No, I don't have a soprano. I got an alto. The same alto
Yeah.
sax I've always had.
Oh, okay.
And but none of them were interested. My daughter plays clarinet, and my son plays the trumpet.
That's awesome. Do you guys play together? Do you still play your saxophone at all?
Not really. I mean, I could I might be able to make a few notes out of it if I picked it up, but no, I don't really play it that much.
Because life happens.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like you either continue with it or you don't. And yeah, I didn't. But I think music education is really important for kids because it's fun and it allows you to learn and succeed at something that's not necessarily academic,
Right.
And then you get good at it, and it's just something that builds your self-confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The better you get at it, the more you feel good at it. You know what I mean? So they got private lessons, and keep at it.
Yeah, no, I was talking to someone else about playing guitar, and you're working on a riff or something and you learn it and you play it right for the first time. That feeling, that's like a powerful feeling, and like to have to give that feeling to a kid, that sense of accomplishment because they're able to figure out something or like accomplish something musically by just effort, by just the repetition of it, and they get it. Like that's a powerful thing for a kid or anyone to feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why, I've always pushed it here, and even if they push back, it's kind of like, hey, I'll just keep working at it.
Did you always go to a lot of concerts? As we were talking about, you've been to a lot of TTB concerts, but have you always gone to a lot of concerts since you were a kid, or like after college? Like what kind of music life?
I just love live music. Live music has a way of centering your soul, kind of. Especially when you know what you like. Like I know. I know what I like. The first time I ever heard the Wood Brothers, Oliver and Chris Wood, and Jano, I was so hooked. I heard one song, Made It Up the Mountain, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I gotta have more of this. And I just love them. I see them every chance I get, and of course Tedeschi Trucks Band is phenomenal. Just to share the joy of that band is amazing.
Yeah, I was before we even get into them, I was gonna ask like what shows were you going to, even like pre Tedeschi Trucks? Did you have what favorite band? Was it Grateful Dead or other bands?
So I went to see the Dead when I was in high school. So my oldest sister, she married this guy, was a big Deadhead, and he used to have. Of course, I listened to the Dead on studio albums, and he listened to. He actually had albums that were bootlegs. They were bootleg albums, right, from the this kind of old school, I guess, 70s, late 70s, and so the first time I went to a Dead show was with my older brothers and sisters, and I remember holding on to one of my brother's friends' belt loop, and snaking through the crowd and getting up close to Jerry and the voice and being so excited, like, oh my God, we're this close. Because that was my first Dead show. And it was tight up there. We were on the floor and we were kind of hanging back, and I just remember it was very exhilarating. This was before the jumbotrons and stuff, I mean, you could see what you could see, based on your vantage point.
What venue was this? What venue did you say that
Richmond Coliseum. So this was
Yeah.
Richmond Coliseum. This would have been like 83, 84 or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that was really when I fell in love with I had fallen in love with the Dead already. And
even more so.
But then it was just, there was so, and this is what's hard to explain, there was so much magic.
Right.
That's what I considered it, magic around the Dead. There was all this, the Dead's coming to town, right? So there was all that talk before they ever got to town. And then there was just an aura around the whole space. It's hard to explain, but the Dead was just magic, man. They were magic.
Yeah. And were you seeing any other particular bands at that time or over the years up until Tedeschi Trucks, or when did you discover TTB? We can get into that.
So I saw a lot of music when I went away to college. So when I went away to college, I met Mike, who is my husband, and he and I went to shows at Hampton, and we used to see a lot of shows around Norfolk area, Virginia Beach. We used to go to the Boathouse all the time, and I saw a whole bunch of music at the Boathouse. I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan there.
Awesome.
I saw Beastie Boys there. I saw a lot of different stuff. And I mean, that place, of course, has since closed down, but there was a lot of good music around Norfolk. We used to go to clubs and stuff. And I remember we used to go, just the two of us, to this blues club, because I was really kind of getting into the blues. And so we used to kind of go out like a date night. We went to this blues club, had these cushy swivel chairs and stuff. And a lot of the acts I can't even remember, they were just kind of local acts. But every now and then there'd be a big name. And I remember seeing Coco Taylor and Buddy Guy came through there. And I really started loving blues music and started digging into the catalog. Now, my husband worked for Trax Record Bar. And so Trax was like the biggest local music store. And I used to get all these cutouts because I didn't have any money back then, and they used to. Sometimes you get cutouts of music, and I remember getting some cutouts from Muddy Waters and Mississippi John Hurt and Freddie King.
When you say cutouts, so you mean like, what is that?
Well, they were like CDs or cassette tapes that they were not going to sell. Like they were not necessarily samples, but kind of like samples, And so because he was an employee there, he was afforded that luxury. They could, he could get some of these cutouts. And so I kind of built that blues catalog. We both did. and just fell in love with some of that blues music. And and that's when I really started listening to Muddy Waters a lot and just adding all that to the mix. And Taj Mahal, and I mean, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Still listen to it to this day. Muddy Waters was. I wish I could have seen him. He's somebody that I really wish I could have seen. And to me, the closest, I think, to Muddy Waters recently was I saw Bob Margolis sit in at we went to go see the band at the Anthem last year. And of course, that was Warren Haynes, who, we're huge Government Mule fans here in this house. And so Warren Haynes and put together a whole crew, and they did this 40th anniversary of the band. And Bob Margolis, I was right down riding the rail, and oh my God, he's pretty amazing. He was really pretty amazing. Yeah, he played backup, I think, for Muddy, so he's got it down pat.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been to some cool shows for sure over the years. How did you discover Susan and Derek? Was it TTB? Was it separately? When did you first hear their music?
So I was a big. So I'll tell you that story. So we went with a whole group of friends to Baltimore. There was a kind of like a street festival in Baltimore. This was probably in like 1999, I think, around there. And we went there to see the Neville Brothers because at the time, the Neville Brothers were sitting in with the Dead, and they were the shit. You know what I mean? Sissy Strut. I mean, the Meters. All that is just really, really good stuff. Yeah. So I went with a whole group to Baltimore to see the Neville Brothers, and we got there. It was packed, and on one end of this street, like they had cordoned off the whole street, and they had all kinds of stuff going on, different vendors and whatnot. And one end was the Neville Brothers, and the other end was Susan Tedeschi. And I sat down and listened to a few of her songs. I didn't know anything about her. I didn't know what song she was playing or anything.
What year was this?
And this was I believe it was 1999, if my memory doesn't fail me. And everybody's like, "Come on, man, we got to go see the Neville Brothers." And I was like, well, I want to stay here. Wow. I wanted to stay and listen to Susan. And then they were like, "Come on, we got to go see the Neville Brothers." I'm like, damn, I remember being really disappointed because I was loving what she was doing. It was totally resonating with me and how much I like Coco Taylor and her sound and just everything. And then
the blues thing.
Yeah,
were you going through your blues thing as you caught wind of Susan?
Yeah. And we went down, so we left her, we went down to see the Neville Brothers. The Neville Brothers was so packed you couldn't even see the band, right? And the whole time I'm just like, man, we got to go back to see Susan. We got to go back the other end. And so that was the first time I ever heard her. And then I was like totally hooked. So then I went out and got, I got her, started buying her music, and just really became a fan of hers. Because at that time,
since the 90s.
Yeah, well, she was, yeah. well, she had just won't burn, and then I think not long after that, she had the Live from Austin album, which I just wore that out. I played that all the time, and she's got a wonderful catalog herself.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, just fantastic catalog of her own music. And yeah, so I love Susan. So I started out, that's kind of how I learned her music, and then I started following her and trying to catch her whenever I could. And I saw her at Wolf Trap, and as a solo gig, she did. That was a couple years later.
What kind of venue is
And
Wolf Trap again? What kind of venue is
Wolf
that?
Trap is a national park. It's an amphitheater, so it's a beautiful, beautiful national park, and it's kind of set back in the woods a little bit, and it's an all wooden structure, and it has beautiful acoustics.
Yeah.
And so
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and you can bring your own beverages and food and
Even
stuff
better.
into the venue, and so you can
What
sit
a
on the
wonderful
lawn.
place. Can
Oh
I
yeah,
live
and we
there?
go there every year. We see Bruce Hornsby. We take the kids, because that's kind of the kids' venue. We always take them every year. We take them to see Tedeschi Trucks. We take them to see the Wood Brothers, to Bruce Hornsby, and yeah, just all, Spafford, all kinds of stuff. We take them to see there at Wolf Trap. So so she was still on her own, and then it's kind of hard. I think I would catch her like whenever I could, like whenever I knew she was coming in town. And I know that I was also still following the Dead a lot whenever I could, and then going to see the Allman Brothers, also whenever I could, and Little Feat and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you had seen Derek play with the Allman Brothers, I'm guessing.
So yeah. Much later. I mean, I guess we can talk about the Horde, because there was also the Horde Festival, and I saw the Allman Brothers play Horde Festival, but I don't think Derek was with them at that time. It was Dickie Betts that played that, and I was into Blues Traveler and Widespread Panic. I was this was back in the day when Michael was still with Widespread Panic and all that. So, yeah, I've been around the block. I think I've seen a lot of shows now that I think about it.
It's your favorite. It's your favorite thing. Music. It's like your favorite recreational or whatever you want to call it. Like more than sports, more than art, more than whatever. Like other than like it's your favorite. You love it.
It is, I mean, usually I have tickets lined up, right? So I for years and years and years, I would always have a show in my back pocket, right? So, there's always
it's the
something
feeling of
else.
it's the feeling of having something fun to look forward to. That's one of the better things in life, I think, and music especially. Always having a live show to look forward to.
Right, always something to look forward to, exactly. And music is, when you connect with it, there's nothing else like it. Like one of my best memories was 1989, going to see Jerry Garcia Band at Meriwether Post Pavilion, and I had tickets on the lawn, and I was fine with that. I'm just, damn, I'm just happy to be in the door. You know what I mean? And I found some friends, and they're like, "Let me stub you in," and I'm like, "Okay, come on, let's go." And my buddy Dave Ashe, he's like, he's one of my all time concert buddies, and he's like, "Come on, let's go," and he stubbed me down front row in right front of Jerry for Jerry Garcia band. And I will never forget it. And I'll always give him props for it because it was one of my best concert experiences. And it's just nothing like essentially riding the rail, because there's nothing between you and the music. You're right there. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I love about what Derek and Susan have chosen to do, and their management staff, or however they figured it out. But the venues that they have chosen allow you to do that. You can go to the Beacon, or you can go to the Warner, and you can have that rail experience. You can be right there, and the stage isn't 15 feet high, and it's the musicians are accessible, and there's nothing between you and the music, and it's a powerful experience when you're a music lover.
No doubt.
To be right there and to be focused,
No doubt. What about the timeline with discovering TTB? So were you pretty much right there as soon as they started doing shows with Soul Stew, or like what was the?
So what happened was, so like I said, I loved Susan, and I was trying to catch her whenever I could, but it was kind of hit or miss a little bit, and I remember reading an article in the Rolling Stone, and it was like just a short column on Soul Stew revival, and the guy was just talking about how they were hitting, and if you're within 100 miles, go see this band, and that kind of thing, and I so wanted to see them, and but I never. I was never at the right place at the right time.
Right.
Like they were doing festivals and stuff like that, and I was raising kids and stuff, so it just never worked. And then Soul Stew, of course, became Tedeschi Trucks Band, and I saw the iconic Midnight in Harlem Crossroads video on YouTube, and I was just like with Susan and Kofi and Otel, and I was like, oh shit, that's what Soul Stew has become. That, like, it's rolled into that, and I'm just like, damn, I knew it was on at that point, and I burned that YouTube, basically that video, and put it in my iPod and played it all the time, played that Midnight in Harlem. And then soon after, Revelator came out, and then I went down to the National in Richmond, and saw him. Got tickets front stage, front row, and I was hooked at that point. I was like, from the very first time I saw him, it was done. That Revelator album is just brilliant.
So you saw them after Revelator came out. So this is like 2011 something when you finally saw them.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think this was the initial Revelator tour. The album had just come out,
Right.
and I, like I said, I'd kind of been tracking them, and this was my chance because they had come relatively close. You know what I mean? And so I told my husband, I said, "Let's go." And we're talking. Tickets were like $20 or something. You know what I mean? It was like, and tickets had been on sale for like a couple of days, and I still got front row seats. This was the very beginning of TTB. And I bought tickets for my husband and I, and my sister, and my buddy Dave went, and his wife, and yeah, it was just fantastic. And I stood up the whole damn time. People were bitching at me. I was just like, I'm sorry. This is the shit. And then after the set was over, I threw the Revelator album up on the stage with a pen, and Derek was nice enough to sign it for me right there and then. He and Susan.
You threw it at Derek, or just
I tossed it
for
right
anyone.
there on this. No, just for him. I tossed it right to him. He saw me. I'm standing right in front of him.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was pretty much hooked at that point. I was done, and I've been following him ever since. And I do what I can. I know people that that follow me. All over the country. I don't have the wherewithal to do that, but I get what I can.
You do know people who follow them all over the country, so those people must have gone to hundreds of shows. Like that's
yeah. Well, the cool thing about this is like when when TTB first started, I know there were it's like I was looking for any kind of information I could find, and this is before Facebook fan pages and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And but now there's just so much out there. They have come, they've just developed so far, and it's fantastic. It's people sharing stories and information about the band and their experiences. It's great. I love it.
Not for sure. Do you have any memorable specific experiences from shows over the years? Like any particular shows stand out? Have you met? Have you met Derek and Susan?
Yeah. I've met him a couple times. So, so Kofi, not Kofi. I'm sorry. Kebby Williams got me backstage after he was giving away this meet the band kind of experience as a fundraiser for his Music in the Park foundation, right? So I contributed to that, and then I got a call one day from his buddy Greg Ponder, who said, "Hey, you've won this this experience with Tedeschi Trucks Band." And I'm like, "Well, that's great.
That's crazy.
I'll take that." So, they gave me backstage passes and tickets to any kind of show I wanted to go to. So I was super excited. Decided I wanted to go to see him at the Beacon, and I talked to Alan Paul, who was on your show last week, and I was talking to him about it and stuff, and I had made my plans. I was ready to go, and then found out I had this stupid cancer thing. So I had to put all those plans on hold and deal with that.
Are you okay?
And
I'm sorry
yeah,
to hear that.
no, it's all right. I mean, that was, to me, that was a bump in the road. So that was back in 2015, and that was when they did the awesome Mad Dog set, right,
Right.
at Locken. So I was fully intending on going to Locken, and then this stupid cancer thing got in the way, and and so. So I had to kind of, change things up a little bit, but it's, it's the power of that music. Again, helped me get through all that. Um, that's the thing about music. When you connect with it, it can be very healing. And
Many people have told me that. I feel like, and it keeps coming up over and again. People who've gone through hardships or literally sick illness have talked to me about how music has helped them deal with recovery and
oh yeah,
illness itself and everything related to it.
Yeah, I remember coming home from the hospital, and my husband queued up that Mad Dog set, and I watched the whole thing, and I was just so lifted, just the joy that was in that performance was just fantastic. So anyway, I met the band through Kebby, and I've met them a couple times since then. I try and meet them whenever they come into town. So, I've, I love all of them,
Yeah, I feel you.
So yeah, this last Warner run, I got to see some of the band members and got some hugs in from Mark and Ephraim and Brandon and stuff like that. And it's good, Um,
They know
they feel
you.
the love.
They must know you if you've been to 50, 60 shows. They must
No, not
they
necessarily.
must
I mean,
recognize you.
maybe they see me because I will certainly work my way down front
Right.
to get my groove on. So you kind of gotta work your way down there
I
when you
think they
can.
remember how happy you are to see them, and to see the band perform. I think but that's
Yeah.
that's the best thing, I'm sure, for them, is just to see happy and excited fans who appreciate them and the music.
Yeah.
Which is you.
Yeah.
And me.
Yeah, I do love them. And there's a whole, it's not just me, there's a whole
Right.
contingent of people here in DC that I've gotten to know just by going to the shows, and lots of my friends who love the band just as much as I do, Michelle and Caitlin, and there's my friend Sue Malone. She really loves the band, and so there's gotten to be a bit of a family here in Washington D.C., and we love TTB, and we love it when they come to town.
That's great. I love it when they come to town as well. Do you have like a I feel like the experience that you had backstage was probably awesome. Like, that must have been amazing.
It was good. So Kevy came and got me, and they were all kind of standing there. It was the end of the run, so they were actually breaking stuff down, and so they're all very, like, I'm 5'1", and I always feel very short when I'm around them because Kevy's very tall, Mike is very tall, and so I'm trying to talk to everybody, but we're backstage at the Warner, so things are very active, and crews trying to move people around, and they're like, look, you got to go, you got to get out the way. And so I was chatting with people, and then I kind of wound up standing next to the wall, and to my right was this staircase, and I was standing next to Elizabeth, and I was chatting with Elizabeth Lee, and down the stairs comes Derek, and that's the first time I'd ever met him, and he looks at me, he's like, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. Everybody's moving. He's like, yeah, that happens. And he's just so very down to earth, you know what I mean? And then of course Susan came down not too long after that, and she's just, you know, headed right out to you know, to this area out in chairs where everybody was waiting for her, and everybody wants a piece of Susan, you know. She's fantastic. So yeah, it's fun seeing the band, and it's, you know, they're all just wonderful people, and so kind and so down to earth. Yeah.
If you could have like a fantasy TTB experience, if maybe this one, maybe you've already had it, just going to shows and meeting them and everything, what would that look like? Would you want to actually go on the road and like follow them, or have them play a particular song, particular venue? You got to hop on sax up there as well and play with you and Kebby. Like what would the dream? Yeah, what is the dream TTB experience?
I think
if any,
just I think just having the opportunity to hang out and talk, and just, I don't know, just be around them. I don't want to say I get starstruck, but they're so down to earth, and they're so open and wonderful that you don't get as starstruck as you would if you were around, I imagine, around somebody else. But
yeah, because they're accessible.
Yeah, they are. So I don't know. I think just hanging out. I don't ask a lot.
Yeah, no,
maybe
that sounds cool.
Yeah, maybe having a drink, and I don't know, something like that.
That sounds cool. You were going to tell me more about Kebby and his playing. You were going to get into that.
Oh, I was saying, I told Kebby last time I saw him, when he was here in February. I saw him just for a brief time, and I told him, I said, it's amazing that you picked up the flute, and he said Kofi had showed him a few things, and I said, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, Kofi was the genius. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, Kofi was the genius. And but I just told him, I said, I think it's fantastic to have the flute back in the house. Because losing Kofi was really, really emotional. And I remember that so well, because it was the beginning of the Warner run in 2019, and I was so excited to be there. And I was in my usual...
The day the signs released. This is what you're referring to?
Yeah. And they had started the show. They were doing the whole Signs album, and I had walked down front. There were a few people down there, like Stuart Doss and some other people that I know through Facebook and just being fans of the band. And I saw Hillary and Stevie down there, and then I felt this weird kind of vibe, and I looked over at Stuart, and he had this this strange kind of look on his face, and it was one of the weirdest concert experiences ever, because I didn't know that Kofi had passed.
Yeah, that's what I was
did
just
not.
figuring out too about what you're telling me. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, she
So
doesn't know yet.
I was in the span of about 10 minutes, I went from elation to being there at the show and being so excited for the new album and for them. And then, I looked over, I saw 3 or 4 people who were not necessarily in tears, but they were close to it. And it was just a matter of moments. And then I started looking at the band, and I went, and all of a sudden it hit me. And I'm like, no, I mean, and to have that experience right there in front of the band, right in front of stage left where Kofi sits, like,
Yeah,
it
bizarre.
was so emotional for me. And yeah, and I met Kofi a couple times. I met him backstage when Kevin took me back there, and he was like kind of like just, again, a very kind person, but kind of like an old soul. Like, he didn't say a lot at first when the first time I met him, but he was so encouraging of me to go up and talk to Derek and stuff like that. And because I was kind of feeling my way around backstage, it's kind of a different experience. And I'm, to be in that setting is,
it's not your space. It's their space.
No, totally not. And he was encouraging of me to go up and talk to Derek, and then Derek and I had a wonderful conversation about kids and growing up and all kinds of stuff. But but yeah, just it was just a really sad experience, and to go from that elation to this sorrow, and then in total and utter amazement that the band could function and perform that show in that grief, because it was almost palpable, the grief right then down there, in front of the band and in his space. And wow, he, it's just a testament to the members of the band, it's just a real testament to their the commitment to the music, and the commitment to the fans. And again, it just they're pretty amazing band.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing all that with me. Wow, that's incredible and sad, and wow. And yeah, I was.
But I'm just to add, I'm really in hindsight, I'm kind of glad I found out there, because I feel like I shared that grief with them rather than finding out, through some looking at my phone later or something. I mean, I felt like I kind of helped to dissipate some of that grief, hopefully, to our love of the same person. So
yeah, Tom Emmy, who did the Kofi documentary, who I interviewed, he was saying how, the band at one point wasn't sure what to do, whether they should continue and play or cancel the show or what. And he was saying how it was Susan who kind of said, no, we're gonna continue the show.
Yeah, well, she's the one that's got to get up there and sing.
Right. That's what she said.
Yeah. It's like, damn. I mean, just think of the emotion. I mean, and it, I'm sure it was extremely difficult for her to do that, but
I still listen to that show, on the
Mm-hmm.
archive, and there's YouTube of that show, and it's incredible to watch the emotion. You can feel the emotion, and and how that show itself just feels like its own unique thing. Just listening
Mm-hmm.
to the voices and the guitar and the rest of the band.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then
The anger and it's incredible to hear the anger and the sorrow. Like it's like it's still art. Like what they created that night, even though it's a dark, terrible, sad night and day.
Right.
What happened to
And
Kobe,
then
but the show is still great.
that's right. And then to see, well, and that's a testament to their musicianship. But
Right.
and now to see Kebby, a year later, taking on the flute and just doing such a wonderful job, and it's just so nice to hear the flute again, because it's just a nice part of the band that it's I mean, it's not Kofi, but it's there. I just love
always
it.
thought about how they would do Idle Wind, or if they were going to stop doing Idle Wind,
Mm-hmm.
after Kofi passed, and how they would handle that. And they kind of done all different things. They've done some organ solo where the flute was or whatever, and then they do, obviously now, the Kebby flute. But then I remember one time they did nothing on some, I forget, I don't know, I have no idea what show it was, but probably someone within the last year or so. Then there was just like no solo, there was no anything.
Right.
I was like, oh, and that was kind of weird and emotional in itself, just like that choice. So,
right.
The music goes on, and all the choices are choices for like a reason. You kind of like, I don't know. I talked to a friend who's a hardcore Van Halen fan, and he's like, some people will criticize them. People have different opinions, but I always feel like as a hardcore fan, I understand at least where the band is coming from, what they're trying to do with the choices they make. And I feel like I have a little bit of that feeling, with this band, and maybe you do too, like just talking about like how they would handle something like that, like get what they're doing by just like almost just, it's like almost a little respect for Kofi in a way, just like having nothing like for a show.
Well,
in that spot.
And Kofi was really such a I mean, beyond talent. I mean, he was just from everything that he did with the Colonel Bruce Hampton to how just how he would sit in with everything like a Bo Live and all these. I mean, I don't know. It's just such a catalog for what Kofi did, but he was brilliant in so many ways. He's irreplaceable. So, I was kind of like, wow, what are they going to do with this slot? And Gabe Dixon is, he's so talented, and he's just such a really great addition without trying to be a duplicate of Kofi. He's his own person. He's got his own sound, but wow, is he super talented?
Yeah, and bringing this singing as well, of course.
Yeah, he's a total package. I was really excited to see him at Wheels of Soul and this summer, and they were going to do 2 nights at Wolf Trap. And if anybody's listening, I hope you do 2 nights when you come back. But yeah, I was excited to see him because he was going to do his solo gig on that tour. So hopefully,
he was gonna open for TTB. You're saying Gabe was gonna?
Yeah. He was on the ticket for Wheels of Soul.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I was really looking forward to that. But it'll come around.
Some other time.
Yeah.
Some other time. But I feel like we've covered a lot of great stories about the band and the show and the music and what it means to you. It's I mean, I feel like I'm getting so much great I mean, content is not even the right word, but just like stories specifically about the band and what the band means to other people and what the music means to other people. It's been cool to connect
Yeah.
through these
Yeah,
conversations.
this band is really special, just like, it's this band. It's, to me, it's Government Mule. It's Warren Haynes. It's this whole family, the Allman Brothers, how everything, it kind of intertwines, you know what I mean? And just, Jimmy Herring and Jeff Sipe and all these super talented musicians that it's kind of a collective consciousness in some regards. So I love this band, and I love all the related workings and all the related music that's associated with it.
You're a real music fan. You are a real music
fan.
fan.
No, I love it. I love it. And
I could tell.
and I sit here at my desk, and when I work every day, I can't listen to it because I can't work and listen to the music because I'll get too far into the music. And
you're like me. I see what's going on. That happens to me too. Like, I have to be sure maybe something without lyrics, maybe classical music is better or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But nothing that I like too much.
Yeah. I'm going to start tapping my foot and singing, and then.
Oh yeah. Then we're gone.
Yeah. Pour the glass of wine in the AM.
Oh no, we're really gone now.
That's too gone? All right, maybe that's too
gone.
No,
yeah.
Speaking of gone, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. I've definitely taken up enough of your time, too much of your time, and I appreciate that for sure.
Well, I'm just really happy to represent the ladies here on the podcast.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that for sure. And again, happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is it still your birthday technically? I think it's still.
Oh yeah.
We got some time in the East Coast, West Coast thing going on here. So go have another slice of birthday cake and enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
You got it. Good night. So there you go. My conversation with Diane Curry. That was a lot of fun, and I thank Diane for her time. She is what you call a true music fan. I really think I need to start going to concerts with her at some point because this lady always seems to end up in the front row. Anyway, I hope everyone is doing okay out there during this sad, crazy, strange, tumultuous 2020. For now, check out Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. That's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. And of course, remember to tap subscribe or follow on iTunes, Spotify, or whichever way you listen to this show. And again, positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated as well. And I also have another podcast that I host called People We Love. And what I do with that one is interview people from all walks of life, most often stand-up comedians and other artists in the entertainment business, about their lives and careers, but I also ask them to highlight someone they love, who has inspired and influenced them. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. PeopleWeLovePodcast.com and at PeopleWeLovePodcast on Instagram. And of course, I'm at Adam Choid on Instagram as well. But yeah, that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening, and thanks as always. Later.